name is Adnan Mamoon. I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Montgomery County Public Schools. I would like to thank everybody for joining us and welcome everybody to the reopening of Woodward High School and the expansion of Northwood High School additional boundary options public information meeting this evening. We are going to talk about the additional options shortly, but I wanted to again welcome everybody and remind everybody that tonight we will be showing the options as well as the maps, and we will be going over the timeline and the next steps in the boundary study process, as well as the decision timeline by the Board of Education. And more importantly, we will share web resources for these maps, the tools, the address lookup features that you can use to do your own, digging into the maps and looking into it. And more importantly, we will also share a link to the survey that is very important in this process, because we would like to continue to get additional feedback from everybody as we go through the process. And, we would like to incorporate those feedbacks and provide them to the board, share them with the Board of Education as well as our superintendent as part of this this process. So if you go to the next slide, please. So tonight we will be looking at additional boundary options. These options are just a reminder that these are in addition to the current boundary options that are already out on our websites, options A through D that have already been released. The additional Woodward and Northwood boundary options will include the proposal for potential closure of Silver Springs International Middle School. And these boundary option websites will include these additional options. And as I already mentioned, one of the most important part of this process is getting the feedback through the survey. And those surveys will be extended until January 9th of 2026. So please, thank you again for joining us this evening. Please listen in to this presentation so you get some additional information about these additional options. And stay till the end, where we will be sharing more information about how to give us the feedback through the survey. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Kat Malchiodi, our Executive Director for District Operations.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are using our December public information sessions to share additional options E through G for the Woodward-Northwood boundary study, and you will have the opportunity to provide feedback. These options were developed based on the Board of Education's resolution to amend the scope of the boundary study that was adopted on October 30th, 2025. And that link is also on the webpage so that you can refer to that resolution. Your feedback will be synthesized along with the feedback we've been collecting this fall in order to support the option development process for the superintendent's recommendation that will be presented to the board in February 2026. The board will hold work sessions and public hearings in February and March of 2026. And the final decision by the board will be shared in March 2026. And the implementation for the boundary assignments will begin in the 27-28 school year. These are the middle schools and high schools in the boundary study scope. There are no elementary schools in this current boundary study scope. While the elementary school assignments will remain the same, the assigned middle school and/or high school could change for those included in the boundary study scope, and a future elementary school boundary study has been proposed after this boundary study is completed. The boundary study process is guided by Board Policy FAA, Educational Facilities Planning. The 4 factors outlined in this policy will be considered when recommendations for boundary options are developed. The 4 factors are demographic characteristics of student populations, geography, stability of school assignment over time, and facility utilization. There's no weighting or priority for the 4 factors when determining boundary options. When developing recommendations to the board, the superintendent will provide a rationale for each recommendation that demonstrates the extent to which any recommendation advances each of the 4 factors. And while each factor is considered, it may not be feasible to reconcile each and every option with each and every recommendation with each and every factor. And throughout the process, community input is sought in accordance with Board Policy ABA, Community Engagement. And I'm going to turn it over to Kate, who is going to walk us through option E.
Great, thank you, Kat. This is Kate Doran with Flow Analytics. We've been working on some new options. So the first one for the Woodward Northwood study area is option E. So this is geography and stability of school assignment over time. So per the Board of Education's resolution to amend the scope of the boundary study, options E through G assume that the recommended closure of Silver Spring International Middle School will be adopted by the Board of Education and indicate reassignment of students accordingly. According to Board Policy FAA Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should, unless otherwise required, take into account the geographic proximity of communities to schools, as well as articulation, traffic, and transportation patterns and topography. In addition, the option should consider at a minimum not only schools within a high school cluster, but also other adjacent schools. For option E, facility utilization, according to Board Policy FAA Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should result in facility utilizations in the 80% to 100% efficient range over the long term whenever possible. In option E, you can see the middle and high schools in this boundary study scope that fall within, below, or above the 80 to 100% efficient facility utilization range. All schools fall within or below the preferred range in this option. For demographic characteristics of the student population, according to Board Policy FAA Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should especially strive to create a diverse student body in each of the affected schools in alignment with Board Policy ACD, Quality Integrated Education. Demographic data showing the impact of various options include the following: racial, ethnic composition of the student population, the socioeconomic composition of the student population, the level of English language learners and other reliable demographic indicators, and participation in specific educational programs. In option E, you can see where the percentage of resident students decreases, increases, or remains the same for those students who participate in the free and reduced meal program or FARMS, and those who are identified as emergent multilingual learners or EML. The option E data tables on the website also include demographic data by race and ethnicity as defined in MCPS at a glance and self-reported by families. Here is the high school overview map for option E. You can see the Woodward High School option E boundary there with the black outline. And a large-scale version of this map is available on the website, showing all of the high schools and the elementary school boundaries. Here is a middle school overview map for option E. There is also a large-scale version of this map available on the website that shows all of the middle schools with those elementary school boundaries.
Okay, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about option F. So for option F, geography and stability of school assignment over time, according to Board Policy FAA, Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should, unless otherwise required, take into account the geographic proximity of communities to schools, as well as articulation, traffic, and transportation patterns and topography. In addition, the options should consider at a minimum, not only schools within the high school cluster, but also other adjacent schools. And you can see some of the highlights and the program regions, 1 and 3. According to Board Policy FAA, Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should result in facility utilizations in the 80% to 100% efficient range over the long term whenever possible. In option F, you can see the middle and high schools in this boundary study scope that fall within, below, or above the 80 to 100% efficient facility utilization range. All schools fall within or below the preferred range in this option. For demographic characteristics of student populations, according to Board Policy FAA, Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should especially strive to create a diverse student body in each of the affected areas, schools in alignment with Board Policy ACD, Quality Integrated Education. Demographic data showing the impact of various options include the following: racial and ethnic composition of student population, the level of English language learners, and other reliable demographic indicators and participation in specific educational programs. In option F, you can see where the percentage of resident students increases, decreases, or remains the same for those students who participate in the free and reduced price meal program, FARMS, and those identified as emergent multilingual learners, or EML. The option F data tables on the webpage also include demographic data by race and ethnicity as defined in MCPS at a glance and self-reported by families. Here is the high school overview map for option F. A large-scale version of this map is available on the website, and you can see the boundaries for the high schools, including Woodward. And here is the middle school overview map for option F. And a large-scale version of this map is available on the website. And again, you can see the boundaries for the middle schools included in the scope. And I'm going to turn it back over to Kate, who's going to talk a little bit about option G.
Okay, this is option G. This is the third new option that we're going to cover tonight. So according to Board Policy FAA, Educational Facilities Planning, the school boundary assignment plan should take into account the geographic proximity of communities to schools, as well as articulation, traffic, and transportation patterns and topography. In addition, options should consider at a minimum not only schools within a high school cluster, but also other adjacent schools. For facility utilization, according to Board Policy FAA Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should result in facility utilizations in the 80% to 100% efficient range over the long term whenever possible. So for option G, you can see the middle and high schools in this boundary study scope that fall within, below, or above the 80 to 100% efficient facility utilization range. All schools fall within or below the preferred range in this option. According to Board Policy FAA Educational Facilities Planning, school boundary assignment plans should especially strive to create a diverse student body in each of the affected schools in alignment with Board Policy ACD, Quality Integrated Education. Demographic data showing the impact of various options include the following: racial, ethnic composition of the student population, the socioeconomic composition of the student population, the level of English language learners, and other reliable demographic indicators, and participation in specific educational programs. For option G, you can see where the percentage of resident students that live within the option boundaries decreases, increases, or remains the same for those students who participate in the free and reduced price meal program, or FARMS, and those who are identified as emergent multilingual learners, or EML. Option G data tables on the website also include demographic data by race and ethnicity. That's defined in MCPS at a glance and is self-reported by families. Here is the high school overview map for option G. A large-scale version of this map is available on the website with more detail. And here is the middle school overview map for option G. You can see the boundary of Woodward High School for option G there in the black outline. And a large-scale version of this map is also available on the website with the middle schools.
Okay, so the options webpage has many resources for you to explore. It includes an interactive map tool, data tables, articulation charts, and various static maps for you to explore as you review options A through G. And so when you go to the options webpage, you'll see that we have added E, F, and G. And there are pages for E, F, and G, and they include the same information that was available for A, B, C, and D. And you can see a little example of that. And at the end, I'll take down the screen and just sort of model it so everyone can see that. But they have been added to the site, and the site has been updated. So it is available now if you go onto the MCPS webpage. Okay, and then the options interactive map tool, or we call it MCPS options viewer, allows you to type in an address to determine the assigned middle and or high schools for each option A through G in this boundary study. And you can also click on an area within the boundary study scope and see all of the current elementary, middle, and high school assignments, as well as the middle and high school assignments for each option. And so if you look at the screen, you can see I took a screenshot of what it looks like now to have the options displayed, because now you can see existing as well as each option, A, B, C, D, and E, F, G. And so I just wanted to show you sort of a little bit of what that looks like so that you will be ready to explore on the webpage. And then finally, the survey tool is been reposted, including options E through G and the accompanying resources, and you'll be able to provide that feedback via the survey. The survey is still available in English, Spanish, Amharic, French, Chinese, Portuguese, Vietnamese, and Korean. And it will remain open until January 9th, 2026, in order for stakeholders to have time to review the options and the accompanying resources and provide meaningful feedback. And so I'm gonna take a moment to stop sharing my screen, and I'm gonna switch over to the boundary options webpage so you can kind of see where to navigate as you sort of navigate through this process. And I just want to make sure everyone can. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the MCPS webpage and just show you how to get there. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just on the MCPS webpage. And if I look on the landing page, I can see that there is a place to go to boundary study. And if I click on that, I can see that the Woodward Northwood boundary options, I can learn more, and I can go to the survey. And so I'm going to learn more. And when I learn more, I can see the information about the upcoming sessions tonight, Wednesday and Thursday, and Wednesday's in person at Albert Einstein High School. And then Thursday, there'll be another Zoom webinar. And we are recording these, and we will post them as we did with the other options, and we'll post them down at the bottom. But now you can see that we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if I just click on G, then I can see that I can go and I can pull up the effects tables, the articulation charts, the interactive map tool, the data tables, large high school map, large middle school map. And so what I can do is just take one of the pieces and pull up the option for this one, option G, data tables, and I can take a look at it. And for each option, each of these resources is available. You can click on them. If you are stuck and you want to go back to home, you can click at the bottom and go back to home. So I can go to E now. And I can also go and look at the current articulation if I'd like to see the current articulation for middle school and high school assignments for schools in this scope, as well as, clicking on the static maps, and I can blow them up as well and see lots of the details. The static maps, for those of you who have come to the in-person sessions, are the ones that we put on those big foam boards that we will have with us at those in-person sessions, but those maps are also available for you to access on this webpage. And then if you go back to the beginning, you can also see the survey. So if I click on the survey, you can see that we have added options E, F, and G, and it says added 12/1/2025. And it still has the place for you to give additional feedback. And then the additional piece that it has is that you're able to give feedback from the initial options I included a link to the webpage. So if you wanted to go back and look at those initial options and say, hey, have you considered this from that? We wanted you to have the ability to sort of go back and look at that and provide any additional feedback. But again, those extra options are there. You're welcome to go back in and take a look at E, F, and G. You're welcome to go back in and, sort of take a look at all of the options as a whole. We welcome feedback. We're excited to, gather that feedback and share that feedback. And then the last thing I'm going to do is to go back and just click on the map tool. Remember, the map tool for each of the options pages is the same. And so what it will do is it will take you to the map. And again, it looks very similar to what it looked like last time. And so for the Woodward study area, if I go in and sort of zoom in on an area, I can pick a location on the map. And I can have it pop up for me with those options, hopefully. It will do it. I may have to put an address in. Okay. There we go.
Hey, Kat,
Yes.
if you go to the layers, and I will have Alex update this immediately, where it says option zones at the top,
Mm-hmm.
turn that little eyeball there. Now you can click on the map. So I will make sure that that is on. I had to go in and check for myself. So now you can click anywhere on the map and it will tell you.
Well, that is super good to know. And I'm actually
Yeah.
glad that happened, Kate, because I don't want our users to be frustrated. And now they too can see, oh, I can see them too. Perfect. Okay, so let me start all over again. Okay, so if I go into an area and I click on it, what I can see is I can go and look at all of the options, including the existing assignments as well as the option assignments with the additional options added. And so that's one example. And then I'll go to a different part of the map. Do another example. Go up here.
It is on for Crown. So that is working for the Crown map, but the Woodward map will get that updated as soon as we can.
Oh, that's a, yeah, no.
Yeah. But if you're in the map, you can turn on the option zones and then you'll see the pop-ups. So we'll just make it more automatic.
Perfect. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm glad that we did that. Okay, so, and again, if you click on the area and you click on a certain area, you can see those options change. You can click sort of, as Kate said, on anywhere in the map and get those options. You can type an address in to the address location. And if you make a mess like I did and you sort of get lost within the map deeply, you can always go back to home and press the home button, or you can go and press refresh and go back to the original screen. And so that hopefully will help you as you navigate. Lots of people like to use the interactive map tool. And so we always want to make sure that everyone knows how to use it and is able to. And so we thank you. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at all of the options and to provide us with that meaningful feedback. We hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving break with your family and friends, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. So thank you.